AskReddit by Hurricane Herschel. Parents who tried their best to raise their kids to be good humans but they turned out to be jerks. What do you wish you did differently? I'm speaking as a teacher, but I've seen wildly different siblings. I think parents need to get a handle on that dynamic. A lot of perfectionist older siblings and younger ones who can't achieve at that level and act out instead to find how they can earn attention. Yep. People need to stop treating kids as carbon copies of their older siblings. And I say this as an eldest child who differs greatly in personality and interests from my younger sibling. It's not fair to anyone, least of all the kid who has to deal with being measured by someone else's standard. Everyone is their own person. Even the twins I've known had different personalities and interests if one cared to observe. Be very careful who you have kids with. If I could do it all over again, I would have chosen better. They ended up with one responsible parent who was completely overwhelmed trying to do the job of two people. My parents. My mom was hyper involved while my dad immediately detached the minute we stopped being cute and started having opinions. I see him doing it to his grandkids now. Mom put us in every event, sport, extracurricular. Dad never attended and often had no idea what we did with our time. Mom pushed us to excel academically and we often were doing super high level classes. Dad assumed we were lazy because we were often tired and didn't have jobs. Hard when you have a double class load as a high school freshman. Dad was also pretty verbally abusive. To me, at least. Mom knew we had a negative relationship but never pried and never got involved. She doesn't know how far it went, to be fair. Which also sucked. I think my mom would have been an awesome parent if she had an equal partner, but instead we had an absentee and someone too involved in being everything to actually listen to what was going on. The mom of one of the Columbine shooters gave a TED talk about this. She wrote a book called A Mother's Reckoning about all the signs she missed. I think every parent needs to read this book before their kids hit their teenage years. In my opinion, the one defining characteristic of bad parents is being resentful of their own children. Resentful that they took some of their freedom, resentful of their youth, resentful of their opportunities, resentful of their intelligence, resentful of their beauty, resentful of their possessions, resentful of their education, resentful of their accomplishments, resentful of their happiness, etc. I think this is far more common than most people realize. These parents may consciously provide for their kids while they unconsciously sabotage them. The kids pick up on this and end up aspiring to their parents' unspoken expectations. Good parents want their kids to exceed their own achievements and, most importantly, to be happy. Good parents are empathetic to their children. They are happy when their kids are happy. They are sad when their kids are sad. Resentful parents don't really want their kids to be happy unless they credit the parents for their happiness. No achievement belongs to the kids, but every failure does. Holy shit. This is my mom. She was a teen mother and never owned up to regretting her decision, but it came out in her contempt for me. If I wasn't popular enough I was disappointing, but if my teachers bragged about me she seemed annoyed. The constant comments about her body versus mine. The contempt was in everything she did, but she would make a big show of us being besties. We haven't talked in 7 years and going NC was like coming up for air. I wish I knew that some grandparents shouldn't be allowed to have a relationship with a vulnerable, easily manipulated child. I wish I knew it was okay to cut people out of your life. My wife died when my son was 3 months old. Last time my in-laws saw him was at her funeral. I moved, changed numbers and just dropped off the map as far as they knew. Saw how their kids turned out, they weren't getting near mine. Generally speaking, if you try to teach your kids something and not be the example, you might as well not have wasted your time. The best field anthropologist in the world is a kid watching the grown-ups. Not me, but my parents have discussed what they wished they had done differently for my brother in order to prevent him from becoming a violent, homeless, drug-addicted snotball of a person. They wish they had sent him to therapy before problems ever started, and that they had reacted quicker and sent him sooner when they did. They wish they hadn't yelled so much at all of us. That they had been more patient and forgiving of our mistakes. They wish a lot. My brother's sister-in-law knew there was something off with her son when he was around 2-3. All of the doctors and grandparents were just like, he needs more discipline, etc. That wasn't it, she stuck with it. Turns out he's a sociopath. Luckily it was caught early enough and they could afford all of the psychiatrist, psychologist, group therapy, etc. that he's learned how he's supposed to act in the world. Last I talked to them he was completely off medication and thriving in school. Had to be homeschooled till around 9-10. Edit. To everyone questioning his diagnosis, that's the therapy he went through. There's a documentary about it out there I'm sure you can all find with no difficulty. We wanted our kids to be happy, so I think we coddled and spoiled them. They aren't ready to function independently in the adult world. In retrospect, I think learning some hard lessons growing up helps prepare them and is less damaging than learning those lessons as adults. Edit. To clarify, they aren't jerks, just not ready to be adults. Yes, this is super important. Parents need to let their children fail and work their way through things. I had an ex whose parents removed every obstacle in his way and took care of everything for him. As an example, he was very smart and did well academically. When we had a strict teacher who gave us all bad grades on our first paper, rightfully, we had lots of room to improve, and gave us the opportunity to rewrite it. They met with her to contest the grade and made her cry. He never worked on getting better. He got to college and when he didn't immediately get all A's and thrive in every way, he had a mental breakdown. I also had to teach him basic things like how to use a can opener. I hope he's learned how to handle failure and struggle better since then, but the lack of resilience they instilled in him was just sad and harmful. The only thing you can really do is teach them. They will become who they will become eventually. Also, when I say teach them, I don't just mean to preach things. Lead by example. You want to teach them to be kind and generous? Then do those things yourselves. If they watch you serve others in need and get joy from that all of those around you, they may grow up wanting that joy themselves. You want them to be responsible with alcohol? Show them how to be responsible. You want them to learn from their mistakes? Then when you make a mistake, own up to it and apologize. Show them no one should be too prideful to admit they were wrong and do better the next time. If you preach kindness and such, but your actions show otherwise, it will come off as hypocritical. Kids know when you are sincere. This is what I try to do, especially admitting I was wrong. I tend to get frustrated really quick and have a temper. However, I cool off just as fast. I make sure if I ever snap at my daughter to apologize, explain I was mad or frustrated but I should not have taken it out on her, and give her a hug. My mom once told me that she wishes she treated my brother the way she treated me. I was the oldest and her first, so she pushed me and gave me high benchmarks, but she realized too late that because she was the youngest and her baby she forgave him too easily and let him do anything he wanted. That by the time she realized that he was an entitled jerk it was too late, his mid-20s. It's my fault he's a narcissist. I gave him everything he wanted and made him believe he deserved it because he was my precious little boy. With my mother it was flipped. My brother was much older and I was unplanned and unwanted. My mother poured all her love that should have been reserved for a man in her life onto her son. It was sick, honestly. Emotionally incestuous. She never let him face a consequence. She used to cry to me, but no one loves him but me. Well, yeah, and no one loves him because of how you raised him. He's been divorced 3 times and had a son he never did a thing for. I was a girl. I was useless as a receptacle for her frustrated need to love and be loved by a man. Lots of great answers here. The idea of tried their best is so subjective. Every circumstance is so different. You get the full spectrum of what trying is defined as. Some parents say how hard they work and how good of a parent they were. But then you find out they were abusive, thinking that it was good parenting. Or vice versa. Parents who say they failed and their kids are all good kids. Bottom line, with so many factors and external variables, it's hard to know what the true formula is. My only advice is to try and be a good human, and your kids will most likely follow suit. Currently pregnant and acutely scanning this thread to take note of what not to do. Check out the book How to Raise Kids Who Aren't Assholes. A lot. I wish I'd insisted on eating dinner as a family every day. I wish I'd found more things to do with them that we each enjoyed. I wish I'd taken them backpacking more often at an earlier age to expose them to nature, unplug them from the world, and teach them how good it feels to tackle a big challenge with no external help. I wish I'd been more patient and playful. Oh man, all of these. A big regret was not spending more time in nature with my kid, something that was very influential on a young me. My son is a pretty great adult, so I can't focus too much on my own guilt, though. I have raised 3 kids, none of them jerks. All good, kind, productive people. However, one of my kids was a difficult, extremely strong-willed child. I kept getting caught in power struggles with this child, which was leading nowhere and resulting in us fighting all the time. I felt critical and negative, which I hated. I decided to start catching the child being good. Every time I saw the child behaving or being helpful or successful at something, I commented on it, thanked them, praised them, etc. It was an immediate turnaround. I learned that children simply want your attention. Oftentimes it is the misbehaving child that gets that attention. Start focusing your attention on when they are good and you will see good. It was a game changer for us. This child is now a young adult that graduated from college with good grades and got a great job at a prestigious company. They are D. Don't praise kids for being smart, even if they are. If you do this, the first time they find something academically challenging, they might think they are not smart anymore, or that you lied and they were never smart in the first place. Praise them for their willingness to try, to problem solve, and to persevere. My kid isn't a jerk, but he is an underachiever who lacks confidence. I put too much emphasis on his intelligence and not enough on hard work. A lot of people I thought were just bad despite their nice parents, including myself. It was actually learned from their parents. I've seen throughout my father's side of the family over and over, and looking back at the bullies in school growing up, they all had bullies for parents. It's shocking how little you really know about other people's daily lives behind closed doors. Don't assume an outsider's perspective of a family is also their reality. In my family I am the black sheep, and others think my parents are nice, but they go out of their way to talk about me to others in my life, both personal and professional, to cast a certain image which then overshadows any interactions I could have, and it's so I can't speak out about their abuse. Although maybe not the case for everyone, those parents could very likely be the cause, even if they don't outwardly seem to be. In my experience, most jerk kids come from jerk parents. That being said, kids can easily become jerks when they have no consequences for their actions. Not just as a toddler but throughout childhood. This is true. But I noticed when my kids were in elementary school that so many of them had the nicest parents, and yet their kids were utter brats. I did find out later, a lot of the parents were in fact jerks. Just knew the societal norms to which they were supposed to conform. I deeply regret not reading to them more. I have cried as an adult thinking about this dumb, stupid mistake when I think about how neither of them read books and the ways reading might have sparked character growth. If wishes were fishes we'd all cast a net. My dad always said that to me. I would have educated myself. I would have entered therapy to understand my childhood traumas to avoid, very broad here. Basically would have prepared myself better to be the best adult mom for them. Gained mental tools. I would have stood up for myself more in order to protect them from consequences of me not standing up for us. I would have been kinder in his breakdowns. It's tough, man. Had to stop myself there. Every kid is different. I have 4. Each one has to be praised, encouraged, disciplined, and motivated differently to suit their natural personality. Parenting advice, whether from a friend or from some guru who has written many books, should be looked at as suggestions of things to try and see how your child responds to it. Similarly, what you liked or disliked about your parents growing up might not be the same as what your child likes or dislikes. Edit. Since I've gotten a few likes on this, I'm not an expert either. So also take my advice with a grain of salt. I doubt you're going to get good faith answers from parents on this. My parents would tell you, well, my dad died a few years ago, but he believed this when he was alive, that I turned out terribly. I'm married to a guy I love, raising kids who are reasonably well adjusted, and doing a job I like, living in a nice house with friends and hobbies I love. They don't like the way I dress, don't like the way I wear my hair, don't like my friends, don't like the denomination of synagogue I go to, don't like my career path, and are angry that I'm fat and don't dye my hair. My dad was particularly put out by the fact that my son has long hair and my daughter likes cosplay. Also, they'll say they did a perfect job at raising me and I'm just a failure. Yay, most people aren't smart enough to realize they're just projecting their own wants and needs onto their kids. Like the children are only successful if they fulfill the parents' warped concept of what success is. Like happiness is objective and there's one way to achieve it. Do exactly what I did. People and especially parents are terrified when their preconceived notions of how things work are threatened by people taking different routes in life. Speaking as a teacher, the 2 most important things anyone can do to help a child is relationship building. Yes, you need to build a healthy relationship with the child. This ties into the second thing. Stability. You need to establish consistency for the child. A child needs to know that this relationship you're cultivating with them as parent, child, or teacher-student is reliable and safe, hence stable. If you do these 2 things, will your child evolve into Jesus Christ? No. But think about it like this. Would you rather build a skyscraper on land